Right, everyone, how are you doing? I have the amazing John Massari back again. Last time we had a video card or somewhere along the line, is Spectrum not agreeing? We have issues with them in our area. Um, but really, thank you so much for coming back, John. John Massari, he is an American icon, international film composer. If you guys have watched TV in the past 40 years or seen a movie at the movie theater in probably the past 40 years, you've heard at least some of his music. So thank you again, John Massari. How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing good, Junkie. It's good to be here.
All right. So
Can I call you Junkie or Mr. Junkie?
you can call me Nick. I'm just part of the studio. So there's about eight of us are here. I get to be the pretty face for stuff.
Oh, wow. So am
Uh,
I going to be talking to other people too, as well?
we've got CEOs in the other room doing something on computers. We have content creators have left. We have people record them playing video games and put them on YouTube. They've left for the
Cool,
day.
cool,
So
cool.
we stay busy. But I've
Next.
got a question. Whatever you had for dinner, was it as amazing as what you posted pictures cooking the other day? Because
Um,
I mean, man.
well, it was very simple. It was a pan-fried pork chop with Brussels sprouts,
Oh, jeez.
roasted Brussels sprouts, and that's it. That's
That
all I had.
that sounds good for you foodies. He has some amazing pictures he posts on his Instagram. We'll provide links for that. You just need to go check out his cooking alone. Now, something exciting with Twitch, a lot of Twitch users are big into video games.
Right.
You are actually working on a video game right now.
Hmm.
And can you give a little, like I said, we know details stay behind the scenes. You want that big opening. Can you give us a little detail on what's the game, if it, like what's it like, or if it's about? I know you said it's a multiplayer online, but is
Hmm.
there any more bits or pieces you might be able to disclose, or is that still under wraps?
Well, to be quite honest with you, it's a multiplayer game. I don't know if it's a subscription service or anything like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to join up with whatever the company is, and I can't tell you what the company is. But I don't know. I don't know how it's set up. All I know is that they said, "Here's the concept. Can you write music like you write music for this video game?" And I go, "Certainly, certainly." And so, and I have the powers that be arrange. I'll make everything so that we're all on the same page, and I deliver the music bit by bit, and they approve it, and it's going very well. And the only thing I could say is that it's a video game, and I'm making music for it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's about what I could say.
I
I
understand.
mean,
There's
maybe sometime in late summer they may make an announcement, like at an event
yeah,
kind of thing, where they can show parts of it and like make a
yeah,
TV
the
thing.
E3 and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, how did the convention? I know I was following your visit to the convention in Canada. How did that go? I mean, it looked like you had a huge turnout for
Mhm.
some of your big fans seeing the photos. How did that convention in Canada go?
Well, it's really awesome that you said that, because when I got invited to that convention, I ran downstairs to my wife. I go, "Sweetheart, we're gonna go. We got a convention in Ontario." "Oh my goodness, in Canada, finally." No, Ontario, California. It's out in the desert.
Okay, so it was. I was thinking it was Ontario.
Oh, listen, I love Canada. Canada is one of my favorite places to visit. The people there are beautiful. Um, it's the home. Toronto is the hometown of one of my favorite artists, Dead Mouse, and no, it's not in Canada. So it
That's
went
cool.
very well. It was very well attended because we had just gotten past this spike in COVID,
Yeah.
and everyone was. It was a very safe health environment, but it was beyond what I expected as far as attendance. I don't know what the exact numbers were. I just know that I was talking to people constantly.
Well, I know I watched when they opened the doors. I was checking out other clips
No
online and
kidding.
different stuff, and I they opened the doors the first day, and it was just. I think the
There are
person stood there for 5 minutes without moving, holding a camera, and it was just.
Right.
nonstop.
Apparently it was a 2 hour wait to get in. You had to have an appointment of when you were going to be there. So they had just people like waiting around. But you know what? It was a really good crowd. Everyone was very thrilled to be there. And it was just, I don't know. There's something about the horror community. They're such chillax people.
Yeah, and that is from working in the haunt industry and being sponsored by effects companies and everything over the years. I can say the horror convention community is very, very tight
Hmm.
knit. They are, and not in a tight knit. Oh, oh, we don't like you. They're cool with everybody and they help each other out and
I do.
they're there. And that is something I think a lot of viewers, if you don't know, people think horror movies, oh, people love them weird. I've worked with John. You, of course, have worked with many people. You've done soundtracks for horror movies. I've personally had the pleasure of working with haunt actors, movie actors,
Mhm.
and I can say it. They are a very tight knit community. It's not these they like horror movies. It's no, these are very good tight knit group of people who are very very helpful. I
Mhm.
actually know one. Dinkus the clown is a friend of mine, and he does weddings as a horror clown. So
Now, I just want to make, now we are recording this correctly. I think
yes,
I see
yes,
the little
this
red
is
thing.
when we're.
Fantastic.
Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, no, I'm now seeing the little red icon. Now, we should clarify that it was CreepyCon. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like one of their among their first exhibitions, and they did a really good job. The CreepyCon people had a great crew of people. They had I didn't know this. I'm learning all this as we speak. That they had an on-site autograph where they can what's it called? They can give it the stamp of approval. You
Oh,
know, authenticators.
yes, yes, thank
It
you.
authenticators. Yeah. So
And
there, so there's this one session where they call me back. Okay, your time is up, and I had to sign like probably like 40 to 70 pieces of memorabilia, and there was someone taking pictures of me the whole time.
now I will say that Jiffy Pop
So
thing was
funny.
cool.
Oh yeah, that was
That
amazing.
was awesome.
Friend of mine in Texas has a buddy who makes cool little stuff like that for friends. So it's just like a gift. It's
That is so
actually it's
cool.
actually a Jiffy Pop, but I wouldn't use it. But
Oh
that's
yeah,
it.
I know. I saw that
That's
and
a
I was like,
cool Killer
wow.
Clowns Jiffy Pop thing. Yeah.
You know what? Takes camping horror stories to a whole new level sitting around the fire, right?
Right, right.
So, what other? You have more conventions coming up. I know you have a list. You've talked about your cosplay party
Yeah.
type deal with Killer Clowns. You've released some killer pieces. I've checked out your pieces on SoundCloud. Your
Mhm.
different are those for
Yeah, those are
the
teaser bits.
they sound amazing. I'm really big on textures and depth and everything. That's just something I've always loved. And the textures, oh my goodness, the textures coming out of those synthesizers
Oh,
or those
thanks.
TUs are just they're amazing. I
Thank you.
mean, truly, I've listened to them and I put on. You know the difference between reference monitors and speakers. I actually turn on my 8-inch reference monitors or bust out my expensive 8KGs to
Hmm.
listen to it just to get because it is so.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm glad you like
yeah.
it. Yeah, worked very hard on it. Basically, that if it's the piece called "Opening the Doors," that's when everyone comes into the venue.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like to set up the mood, so to speak.
Yeah.
And um, I wanted to just, I wanted to, well, I want to do something that I enjoy. I wanted to create something I'm going to enjoy listening to, and that people when they come in, when sometimes you'll like see or hear something and you go, wait a minute, I need to hear that part again. I got to go through the song to hear just like one part.
Yeah.
I'm saying, so I made sure I had like these extra little gems that are like don't repeat over and over again, that like someone has to go in to experience, the build up, and you hear the part that you like and then the tail off. Because like there are some movies that there are some scenes that are just so great, some little moments in the scene that
Mhm.
make the whole movie worth it.
Yeah.
So there's things like that in music, you know. And
Listen to
so
some
so
little known
anyway,
people.
that's in June. That's June. Oh my goodness, I got to remember my own dates now. It's the first Friday and Saturday
First
in
Friday.
June.
Hmm.
I think it's the third and the fourth, or the fourth and the fifth. Um, I can just check that out right now because I happen to have a calendar right here, and I'm going to go to May, June. Okay, June 4th and um, June 3rd and 4th. We're not doing it on Sunday, so it's June 3rd and 4th that we're doing it.
Where is that? You're doing that there in California,
In
or
California, it's in North Hollywood. It's a place called Zombie Joe's Underground Theater.
uh,
And Zombie Joe is he's the um, theater curator of this particular theater, and he's a really great guy. And I met him at Midsummer Scream, which is a pretty big convention out here. So last summer, I met with him, and I just thought he was a really cool dude, a really hip guy. And I said, "Listen, I have this idea. What do you think?" Oh, he goes, "Let's talk about it." So, and you asked me about other appearances. There's in July there is Midsummer Scream in Long Beach, California. It's their big one. I mean, the
mm.
Long Beach Arena is like a huge venue. Um, Sometimes they get like 50,000 plus people coming.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And so we're doing a special program for that we're going to announce probably in about a month or two, but of a musical nature. So
That sounds exciting. It seems like you have a very busy year this year.
yeah, I'm really happy about that.
And
Really.
I'm sorry, I'm over here smiling, finding out you're releasing stuff in June because I actually have stuff coming out in June, so it's kind of just exciting,
Oh, good.
unusual thing for
Good.
me. Yeah, after six
Excellent.
years, the Nutcracker's finally releasing.
Oh yeah, I've been listening to little snippets you've been giving me. I
Yeah,
can't wait to hear it when it's done.
yeah, it's got quite a bit, but yeah, so that's exciting. Now, I'm hoping to make it out to California this fall. But there's some conventions
Cool.
out there but hopefully, if I can get out there soon, I'd like to check out some of these conventions because I mean, it is. I know people. I know some actors who play a lot of the zombies and horror characters, main characters in some of the B films, as some people call them, the more indie films. He's done a bunch of artwork for one of my the studio.
Right.
So wanting to get out there, I know some of those people.
Mhm.
So this is all talking about conventions. Is very interesting and piques my curiosity because I know people there. Now,
Awesome.
do
You
you
know,
have?
if we're gonna come down out in fall, you're running into Halloween Horror Nights territory.
Oh, really? Okay, because
Yeah.
I know it's September or October is
Well,
Twitch time.
September through October. Actually, it's like I want to say it's like they usually sometime like the first or second week of September, and it goes all the way to like into November a few days.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. So we come out there for the Twitch convention. We can easily hit that all in one grouping. That is
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
Yeah. We're going out there Twitch convention, and then we were wanting to see some other stuff and visit some of the people we interviewed and everything. So that's cool. They have that going on. Now,
Now,
do you?
does Twitch just I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm fascinated with your Twitch convention. So because you're big on Twitch,
Mm-hmm.
so you go to a convention. Do they have their like YouTube has a theater out here? It has actually a campus, where it not only has a 6,000 seat theater,
Mm.
it has grounds, that they can do a variety of events, and it's near the new SoFi Stadium, which is a massive football stadium. That's like a crazy, insane oval TV monitor. I'm just wondering, now that I bring up
Well, they
YouTube,
actually have
does Twitch
two.
have a place? Oh, they do.
They have one in Amsterdam, and then they have one in California. I
Is it Northern
know.
California?
I think it's at a huge convention center. I think maybe San Francisco.
Oh,
I'm drawing a blank off the top of my head, but it's like a 3 day convention, and they have theaters, they have streams set up, they have
mm-hmm.
it's all the people, the only from Twitch are invited, and once so many tickets sell, only people like us who are affiliates can actually even get tickets
Right.
to go. So it is a huge deal. It's where a lot of people who get around on are, and like I said, there's one in Amsterdam, there's one in California. This is be the first one they've had in 2 years because of course, the pandemic. So, but
Right.
yeah, it's something we're looking forward to. Now, big question: do you have what kind of film releases or TV show releases do you know of you have coming up that your music might be on? I'm always curious to hear that because I want to go grab the sound bites and listen.
Hmm. I can't talk about any of them.
Oh, that's unfortunately for those of you who
I
don't know.
really,
A
I
lot of
really
stuff,
can't.
yeah. There's a lot of stuff when you get into the industry and stuff, such as John does a film composer. He has
Mhm.
to keep tight-lipped. It's not like
Well,
me.
name
I'm
a really cool movie that came out like last year,
mm,
right? Let's say I don't know, some horror movie. Let's say one of the Conjure. What was the last Conjuring movie? Um,
I think that was 3 last year, maybe.
okay, Conjuring 3. Let's
Mm-hmm.
pretend it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, oh no, my friend Joseph Bishara, he does an awesome job with the Conjuring series. But let's pretend that I was doing the score for that, and it wasn't gonna be released for another like 6 to 8 months. And I start blabbing about it. Then all of a sudden, people start talking about it, and then it becomes a different movie. And so the people that spend all this resources on doing the movie go, well, no one's going to want to watch it because they've preconceived what it's about. And we did this really cool thing. What they're preconceiving is completely different. No one's going to want to watch this. So it's like, what do they say in World War II? They go, loose lips sink
Six ships.
ships,
Yep.
loose lips wreck movies.
And see, and that's interesting. It's always like, okay, and being a musician, I recently interviewed Jorge about who does Hellvan, who did the movie Hellvan,
Right.
and so I wasn't sure it's releasing. He was giving all the details, but I know there's some stuff I didn't know if it was the shock and surprise or that makes sense though from the artistic point. These people were put so much into these movies, and people will find out and reinterpret the whole thing before it's even released. Kind of does damage to their whole
Sure. And when
artistic
you
project.
hear in the uh, in the pipeline that so and so is now signed to do such and such a movie, they're about 2 months away from releasing it,
Oh,
so they
really?
can get everyone excited. Unless it's like two screenwriters have been penned to do the movie adaptation of a particular book. Well, they know what the book is, and they're just writing it, but they're not telling you who's in the movie, who's going to direct it, and all that sort of stuff. There's so um, movie public PR
Mm-hmm.
and getting the word out is a very tactical aspect of the media industry. So you have to when the people you're creating with say you just cannot talk about it. They,
Mm-hmm.
they have a good reason to not to talk about it. So that's okay because I don't need to tell anyone and wreck the show. It's like, oh, we can't release the thing because Massari blabbed about it last year and Reddit went crazy.
And that's very very interesting seeing the film aspect because from the music aspect you're pushing you're hey I got this we're working on this in the studio you're constantly hyping it up, but
Right.
when you come to the
But those are
music,
things that I'm working on.
yeah.
Those are my things.
So it's interesting though to hear you when you're working with films. You're like, nope, I can't say anything because I mean, music mindset. You want to push your music, but then it comes down to the movie. What you're
Mhm.
explaining makes sense and kind of gives you
Right.
the contrast of why music and film composition are two.
Hmm.
They're done differently,
Hmm.
and I personally, as an artist myself, would have never thought of the aspect of people reimagining. Because say you said something that you're working on a soundtrack for something, and people suddenly reimagine what the film's done, and the guys have already
Yeah,
scored it.
they're rewriting the movie in their head. You
And
know.
see, that's something I never thought of. That's very interesting. And so, those of you tuning in, again, this is part of film composing the industry. So, if you are looking into following fields such as John Massari, This is something you got to be able. It's obvious you got to be able to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah,
so, so
it's always
that,
good to do that.
to put it
You
bluntly.
reap bigger rewards when everything comes out the way it was intended to. You know.
So how long? I know we kind of were all over the place last time. How long have you actually been doing film composing? That is not something I got to ask. I know you've been handed awards from Frank Sinatra.
Mhm.
So I've seen those black and white photos with you grinning ear to ear taking an award from him from years ago.
Mhm.
How long have you been doing film composition like this? Because you have an extensive record.
Well, if I tell you, we promise not to tell anyone.
I promise.
Well, I'd say even when I was in college, I started doing stuff,
hmm
and so I'd say, gosh, the earliest professional stuff that I have that's listed on IMDb, I think is 1979. That's a
Well,
while ago.
you know what? For some of the people turning in, that's a while ago. For me, it's like I'm sitting here. That wasn't that long ago. You get to a certain age, those time frames
Right.
are a bit different. But yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I was curious because I can look back at shows from I watched with my family as a young child, all the way up to their stuff my kids are watching today,
Mhm.
and your name consistently appears. So I was wondering how far back you actually did go. Now, a big one. Do you enjoy working on movies or TV shows? Or like you're working on games. Which is your personal preferred that you enjoy working at on more?
Well, the answer is all of them, but what I really enjoy is working with people that are very they're creative and they have a plan. They know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They don't leave anything to guess. You know, when they tell you, when they describe to what their project is about, it's always great to have a clear picture
Mm-hmm.
of what they're trying to achieve. So once you start that way, you have a good foundation to do all sorts of stuff. I mean, that's where concept artists, they get great ideas, and musically, I'll come up with something that is unique for that particular project. But it's all about the people, really.
And that is, uh, you've you've worked with some great musicians. I know you work with some some very with what you do. You work with people might know not know the names, but they are phenomenal instrumentalists
Mhm.
at what they do. At your level, there's a different level of professionals starting out young, and then there's your level. Can you describe, because we both know there's differences, but in the professional maturity, the difference that goes on between people at your level and people starting out, so people can maybe get an idea of, okay, I need to step my game up to be at this level. Just like the behaviors and the personalities and actions that someone like you looks for when looking
Right.
for someone to work with or hire.
Um, well, usually someone can bring a level of innovation and creativity to the table,
Mm-hmm.
because competence, everyone can be competent. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people can learn the software. It's what you do with it that's very important, and musical sensibility. If you're talking about like me working with another person, musician, or things like that, it's musical sensibilities. Not that they just learn how to play a particular instance. Oh, I can really program a particular generation of synthesizers really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they can create with it that's that's really important. And they, as a person, are they easy to work with? Are they going to be on board? Because there have been times where I was coming up where I had to, like, listen, I made my share of lots of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Make no bones about that. I mean, I got nearly kicked out of places because I just overstepped my bounds, and I didn't know it because I didn't know any better. I was a
Mm-hmm.
dumb kid. But when you can be an asset instead of a liability, that always helps.
Yeah.
You're the person helping, not trying to figure out what you can get out of the situation. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there is a payoff that will be very rewarding, and I will contradict myself. And then there are some times where all of a sudden you go, where did everyone go? Why am I left here all by myself and everyone's gone? I thought I was part of the team. It happens. It happens all kinds of ways, you know.
And that's very interesting. I know one lesson you told me you did learn was unplug your phone at night. You
Right.
learned you learned that one guy taught you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I
Gotta be
mean,
very careful. I'm really glad that I can edit who I speak to. Ooh, let me see if I can get this in there. No, yeah, I'm
there
very
we go. There's the apple.
yeah, yeah. I'm very glad that I can, I mean, for me, it's like don't call. There's very few people that call that I will pick up the phone for.
Mhm.
Most people are respectful. They start off with the email. The next boundary is text.
Mhm.
So email is the best way. Actually, it goes social media, email, text, call.
Yeah.
Like there are
goodness.
people I know that I wouldn't even dream of calling them
Yeah.
unless it was an emergency.
Hey.
Unless I was at Disneyland and I go, "Hey, it's me. Yeah. Oh, hi. How you doing? Good. Are you here with your kids? Yeah, because they're over here in California Adventure. Where are you guys? Oh my God, we're looking for our kids. Could you hold on to? That's the only reason I would call them. You know,
I,
um, but otherwise it would be either email,
mm.
and you can't be. And here's another trick: when you leave someone an email, figure out what the hell you're going to say way before you leave the email. Leave it concise. No one likes to listen to a 3-minute conversation on an email.
See,
Hi, it's me. I had a question about this particular thing. Wanted to know if you want me to go to the left, go to the right. You call me at any time, or you could just text me your response. Boom, done. They love you. You will love them.
and see, that's why I'm one of those people. I have a hard time talking on the phone because I've got so much going on in one spot. I'm trying to keep up and then trying to have a phone conversation. And then
Right.
if I'm at home or I bring the parrots to the studio, then it's a whole different level of hearing. So it's like I just tell people, text me.
Right.
Like, it makes life easy for me. I can keep working.
Or
Well,
here's the worst text I could get. I can tell you about a worst text, email, or social media message. I have a question for you,
dot 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 dot.
and nothing. Then nothing.
It's-
So I'm supposed to say, okay, what is your question?
Mhm.
I hope you don't mind me asking. You know, I have to
Eh,
tell people, start off. I had a question about these three things and keep it, less words are better. And you have to expect that you may not hear from the person, you know, for a while, unless it's something really pressing, you know.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just kind of have a hard time putting myself out there. Like I asked you to check out some of the Nutcracker, and the first thing I said was, "Can I ask? Or what was it? Can I ask you a? Oh, I can't remember. It wasn't like that, but it was real.
Awkward question.
Yes, that was it. Are you okay
You
if I ask you an awkward question? That's why I started. Wasn't like, can I ask you a
you
question?
prefer
Is
to
it all right if
floss?
I ask you a question? Eh,
What's your favorite brand of floss? You know.
yeah, yeah, it's some of the stuff out there. Now, have you tried out that new base? Last time we talked, you had just got that custom.
Well,
That.
it was a handcrafted jazz bass
Mm-hmm.
in late '70s Fender, crafted in Japan, and it's still at the bass shop place called out here in Glendale called. It's a music store called Charles Music, a little mom and pop place, and they got a guy that fixes guitars and um, does setups on guitars and basses, and I haven't. He's still working on it.
Right. Now, I do have a question. Again, last time we can talk. What instruments do you play? I know you play bass. I've seen pictures from you recording in the studio from years ago.
Huh?
Which,
Okay, so here's my instruments. I am not. I wouldn't hire myself out as a studio musician for someone else. by any chance, but I do pretty darn good playing my own music. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the list. I do play keyboards, the
Mm-hmm.
piano. I used to play the trumpet, the French horn, the euphonium, which is like a baritone horn, and the contrabass, the big contrabass,
Mm-hmm.
the stand-up bass. And I played in marching band. I played a variety of percussion instruments. The glockenspiel, the xylophone, all the mallets, the big bass drum, the sometimes snare and tenor drum, also known as tom toms.
So you have a quite an
Yeah,
extensive
but
extensive
like I
list.
said, I wouldn't hire myself out to be a musician.
Now, one thing I love, you play the contrabass. People play contrabass and upright bass. It's so beautiful sounding to me. That and the cello mixed with violin, those are like the three most beautiful. So here, knowing you played the contrabass, Marky Ray plays the upright. We had him on. That takes a distinct skill versus playing an acoustic or electric bass to get them to sound properly, because otherwise I've never tended, when I've heard people never play upright try who played bass for years, and it does not. Yeah, you can't just fold from an electric bass over to an upright.
Right, right. Well, I will say there's a very famous bass player. He was one of the key players of the band Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm going to get his first name wrong. Verdine White. And he loves playing stand-up bass.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get called for it, he gets called to play, on a regular electric bass. That's his thing. But it's one of those things that I learned. I would have to start from scratch if I had to pick one up again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different, you have, first of all, I have to have a place for it because they're big.
Yeah.
I think contrabass players, if they have more than two, they have to have some space to keep it. But yeah, that's a very nice sound. And then Henry Mancini was famous for using a stand-up bass and an electric bass,
Mm-hmm.
basically playing the same part or playing a variety of different parts. Of course, the musicians he got, they just figured out what they were going to do, and they just made it happen. But that's a really really interesting sound as well.
Yeah, and that ties in to layering. I know you do a lot of that. When the recording process, you guys don't turn into production. A big way to bring your sound to make it sound unique or bring life to it is actually
Hmm.
two layer. Like you were saying, an upright bass and an electric bass. They're going to be in the same frequency zone, but they're going to have these drastically different tonal
Right.
qualities that will bring it together for
I mean,
you.
if you listen to um, Stevie Wonder's Superstition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's I forgot what great bass player was playing on that, but he also Stevie Wonder also plays Moog synth bass,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting if you can listen really good on a decent set of headphones. If you can listen to how they play off of each other, you know how they interact, the different bass voices uh, uh, interact with each other. It's really brilliant.
Yeah, and for good headphones, a lot of people are thinking, "Oh, I got Beats, I got Skull Crushers, all this." Yeah, well, that's what I like for when I DJ because they got a little sub in the ear, so if I can't hear, I can at least feel the vibration on the
Right,
side of
right.
my head. But we're talking true high quality headphones, not stuff that has the bass boosted,
Mhm.
mid scoops. These are flat. They're called flat response or
Yeah,
monitor
very flat.
headphones.
Right, right.
And the detail you can get from music that me and him are describing, you can get all those articulations and transients because when you listen on normal headphones,
Hmm.
home speakers, they've been EQ'd to give a certain sound pattern, whether it's some high def, they scoop the mids, other ones, they boost the bass. So, what we're talking about is they're called flat response. There's no tweaking to the sound, so you can get the full characteristic and actually
Right.
hear it. It's so that is one thing. If you really want to get into it, invest in some headphones. You don't have to go buy expensive monitors like me and him
Mhm.
use, but some very decent headphones. I'll actually post some in the blog. Some you guys can check out that'll work perfect for this style listening. So I think that's something very important. A lot of people, we can talk about this and they'll go put on dollar store headphones and expect to be hearing the whole spectrum, the whole sound
Right.
picture. So but yeah.
But if the song is good, I mean, listen, some of the revered hit songs that I heard for the very first time,
Hmm.
I heard on a AM radio
Yeah.
back in the day when AM radio had rock stations.
It,
I mean, can you imagine listening to like Led Zeppelin on an AM station
well, I will tell you a little secret.
in a
Um,
car?
my wife's both my wife's grandparents are ranchers and own huge ranches about an hour away. You
Right.
get AM radio out there, and that is it. There's three
Wow.
AM radio stations. You got classic rock, the
Oh, really?
rockabilly.
On AM? Because
Yeah,
out here in LA, you cannot find it's all talk radio. I don't think I think if there's music stations, I think they're the Hispanic stations,
hmm
and maybe Korean stations,
hmm
Korean language AM stations play music, but no one's playing like top 40 on
yeah,
AM radio anymore. It's all on
yeah.
FM, or you're streaming, or you're listening to Spotify, or what other music streaming service like we call iTunes and what have you.
Yeah. Now, if it sounds good on the radio, folks, and you go get those nice monitors or headphones, it will just mind blow. I mean, the more detail you hear, because like when John or I are mixing or mastering, what you guys don't hear, we can actually hear the breath and the lips touching
Right.
of the performers. We can hear the inhale as
Yeah.
they're so
It's
these
very deep.
yes, it's very deep and very detailed, and it is how the sound. So you want to get mind blown, find some songs you really like, and go do that, and it adds a whole different dynamic. Because I know you in theater and film, you guys work a lot with panning and
Oh
movement
yeah.
and stuff. So you've got good headphones or good monitors. That panning takes on
Right.
a surreal feel and
Right.
engulfs you. So now, personal question:
Hmm.
do you use? I want to call them mixing chambers. Basically, I've watched people, they mix the sound, the scores to movies, but it's like in an empty movie theater. It's set up so they can get the same acoustic quality as if it was playing
Hmm.
at the theater. Do you ever use one of those, or how
Well,
common are those mixing
Well,
rooms?
there are people that you're talking about at the stage of the game where the music's done, the sound effects done, the dialogue is edited properly, and there's all these sound elements have to be combined.
Mhm,
And they do put them in a theater, and some of the theaters are smaller to emulate like a living room,
mhm,
you know. And then of course they'll check them on like you buy a smart TV, it comes in with built-in speakers, and if it plays well on that,
mhm.
you know, if you can, when you're mixing it and all the elements are 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 playing in their dimension and
Mhm.
they're all traveling in their lane, so to speak, then the experience with the audience is going to be fulfilling. There's not going to be any gaps in the experience.
And
There's
it's
a lot of work. There's a lot, even when you see like what you may consider a mediocre film, there's a lot of work that goes into it with sound to give you the sense of drama and realism.
mhm.
All the sound effects, the subtle dialogue treatment. There'd be like let's say you're walking in a mall. When they shot it, all the actors in that mall are not making any noise.
Yeah,
They're
and
all quiet, right? And then they
mhm.
have to recreate that sound, you know.
And
So,
it's interesting because, like I said, we had Jorge on Saturday,
right?
and he was discussing how the music had to fit in. He didn't do the music. He actually hired a couple people I know in different bands to do the music.
Wow.
And he was even discussing the importance of the people creating music for his film. They could make it or break his film by just
Right.
the wrong vibe
Getting the wrong vibe,
fitted.
the wrong attitude. Right. No, absolutely. Totally.
So I mean that is very, again, for those of you who didn't catch the last one tuning in, John being a film composer, um, my opinion, a lot of other people's opinion, it's one of the most important parts of a film for the simple fact you hit the wrong note, you hit the wrong chord, it can kill the whole
The whole
scene.
vibe.
And,
Right.
and if anybody's seen a bad movie, you know that one bad scene, no matter if it's in the beginning or the middle, it can ruin the whole film because you can't get past it. So what
Right.
he does and other people working film composition is very important, very
Hmm.
detailed, and how you guys work. You guys are given, okay, we need this feeling in 45 seconds, and you guys have to come up and cram, per se, not in a bad way, but you have to get all your ideas and all that feeling in, like, say 45 seconds compared to someone like myself. I have 5 to 10 minutes
Right.
to do it.
And then there's sometimes where you have to have like 5 or 10 minutes worth of music. And I just think of it in terms of, okay, this scene, I don't say is that, oh my God, this scene is 2 minutes long. I don't
Hmm.
think of it those way because then it becomes like a chore. I just say, well, this music needs to be 2 minutes long,
Hmm.
you know? And sometimes I wish it was 3 minutes.
There's always that part. There's never enough. You always got those ideas. That final. I hate that final cutting and mixing mastering. It's like, but this sounds so good, but it don't work. It don't fit the flow. So, and that's just really some amazing stuff. Now we know. I know you loved Killer Clowns.
Hmm.
Can you give us a couple of your other favorite projects? I know Killer Clowns. For anybody who hasn't seen it, this is John is so well known for it. Anybody I can talk to that said I was going to have him on here, my wife is general manager of a full service restaurant. She said something about me interviewing you, John, and half her staff was like, "Really, him?" My wife just turned around and she was like, "All you guys know it," and they're like, "What time's the stream?" so,
Hi
it is.
everyone. What's the name of the restaurant?
She's actually a GM for Denny's.
Hi GM. Hi D. No, GM. She's the general manager.
Yeah,
Hi everyone at Denny's. One of my favorite diners.
really.
Moons over my hammy rules.
You know,
Totally rules.
hey, you know what? I'm putting this on our Facebook. Yeah, I'm gonna edit it and put that clip on our Facebook for her
And you
tonight.
know, people don't give Denny's enough credit because there's some like healthy options you got there. Like they have a spinach omelet that completely rocks. It's
Well,
like a nice, and they use fresh spinach. They don't buy canned crap. You know, it's like there was actually leaves, you
hmm
know, spinach leaves in there. So
there's been plenty of times I've had to go with my wife, and we've had 4 grocery carts buying produce for her store that she goes and drops off. So yes, and
yeah.
it's kind of ironic. Before I broke my back, I was a general manager for Denny's too.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Now
so
come on, you got there's some magic going on in those moons over my hammy.
you know what? It is. I can't even explain it because when I was
Sourdough bread, they toast it, you know.
it's toasted with real butter. I think that's part of it.
Yeah,
It's real butter right there, not that fake one molecule away from plastic.
right. No, it's
So,
good. It's one of my favorite. It's my late night food jam. If I'm traveling around and I see a Denny's, I go, "We're getting a moons over my hammy." I don't care what anyone says.
you got your spots.
Yeah.
So now it's your
Okay, so my favorite movies
yeah that
that
you've
I've worked on.
yes, that you've personally worked on. So, or even your TV shows, some of that have been your just whether it be the episode itself or your work. Not necessarily, oh, I like to work, but just an episode you personally liked working for. You know.
Well, I got to go through my IMDb because there's a lot of things. Well, like I said, it goes back to the experience. You
Hmm.
know, there was a movie I did that worked on that. I wasn't the head guy. It was I was invited by Bear McCreary,
Hmm.
who does um, among other things, Outlander, and he did The Walking Dead. And so he says, John, your name keeps coming up in conversations. You want to work on this one movie with me? And I go, okay. So I did, some stuff. and along, it was a lot of fun. See, it was just fun. That's the thing. It wasn't like, oh, the movie was, uh, it wasn't. It was a decent horror movie, great concept about a something like Halloween Horror Nights,
Mm-hmm.
and there's all these scare actors, but yet lurking among the scare actors, an actual, killer,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. So it was really, it had a good premise, and it was so it was a lot of fun. So I'll just tell you that it was just a lot of fun to work on. It was working with the team and all that sort of stuff. It becomes more about that. It's almost like you ask. You ask okay, maybe this is a good comparison. You ask a professional baseball umpire who his favorite team is, and he doesn't have a favorite team. There's certain players that he admires because of their personality,
Mm-hmm.
and they're great ball players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, and then there's directors that I've worked with that I really enjoy hearing from them. There's some producers that I've worked with that it's when the phone rings and it's their, it's always fun to talk to. I know that they need me to work on a project, but it's fun to talk to them, to get to know him. It's like, the band's getting back together again.
Yeah. And
So I'm sorry I don't have some great philosophical thing. I mean,
no,
you
and
know what?
it actually leads up to the next thing I find very interesting since I've started interviewing people from the industry, such as yourself and Marky Ray and other people. Like I was telling someone, I got done with the interview and I went there and talked to my wife, and my wife's like, they're normal people. I was like, yeah, and it's to hear someone of your level, because you hear at the young level, I'm doing it for the money, oh, blah, blah, and here you are, I'm doing it because it's fun. I don't want to do it if it's, if it's like getting teeth pulled, it's whatever it is. I enjoy it, enjoy working on it. That's the key. You're not,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have done so many. There's an author. His name is Robert Greene, and it's really interesting to hear him speak. And I so identified with the fact that he's had so many different jobs throughout his life, as well as I have. I've done a lot of things besides music. I mean,
mm-hmm.
there was a time, there have been time, it's like, listen, you live life, life is gonna hit you really hard and knock you down, and you're gonna as long as you can get up again to live to fight another day, you're going to be doing good. I mean, I've had some, for me, which was some pretty traumatic episodes in my life, that it's taken time to recover to get back into the groove. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so to get back in the groove, I'd done all sorts of stuff. I mean, there was a time where, actually, I'd be very honest with you, from 2008 to 2000 to, well, I'd say 2008 to maybe almost 2016, 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of like out of it. I didn't write one note. And I actually had I was in a line of business where I actually had a permit to carry a sidearm,
Mm-hmm.
to carry a weapon. And so I did all sorts of things just to keep going. And then I came back, music really hit it hard, you know. But it's just like it was like you run through such a situation. It's like the thing you were born to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I can't do it. I'm not up to it, and you find some, you get, uh, you meet up, or you have a different circle of friends, and then it all comes back,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I did come back, it was as if I didn't leave. You know what I'm saying? But that's a long stretch of time for some people.
Yeah.
'Cause when you say 8 years to people, that's like, oh my God, that's that sense. There's a lot I learned, a lot I came back with after that experience. So I'm just really grateful for all the stuff I used to do, and the stuff that I'm been working on and are going to be working on soon into the future.
And now there is something I like to discuss, and a lot of it is mental health in the industry. You know,
Hmm.
you look at the touring and everything that the performing musician has, or roadies or whatnot. It's drug use is mainly because of mental health issues and
Yeah.
struggles. Now you're working with a lot of studio musicians, which is kind of a different field. How does that affect the film composing industry? Like, what depth? So people, because I'm sorry, mental health in the artist world
Hmm.
is not addressed. I mean, you look at like River Phoenix, Cobain,
Right.
Cornell. I mean, Janis,
Right.
Hendrix. It's just lists. It's not well discussed. Is that prevalent like that in dealing with more of studio and what you do? Do you still see that very relevant mental health struggle a lot with people you work with? Not, and I don't mean severe, I mean they fight anxiety, they fight depression, not necessarily drugs or
Hmm.
stuff, but you see that struggle with that. Is that a commonplace in your field
Oh
of view?
yeah. There are people that recently they're coming out admitting that they're agoraphobic, and the reason why they don't talk to people at appearances is because they really don't have, that's not their thing. And that doesn't mean that they're not a very good creative person.
Mm,
That's just their, I mean, and God bless them that they found a way to deal with it. I mean, I know people that were very, very creative and had so much to offer, and they're just locked in their house like in a cage, hiding from the world, because they never dealt okay, I'm different than other people. What can I do to help interact with other people?
mm,
And the crazy thing is that they made everyone else's life a living hell, because everyone thinks that, oh, I must not be doing my job right because this person is just not pleased with anything. Where is that, there's some people that just, they don't know how to respect boundaries, and they railroad over people, and then they retreat sometimes, because they came out, like gangbusters, and then they realize, oh, I can't do this anymore. They gotta like come back into their shell. um, there's all sorts of things, yeah. And it's just like, I think we all have to be understanding of people's situations, and not expect, no one's perfect.
mm-hmm.
You just have to be open to that. But I think, as far as with my situation, and it will happen with everyone
Mm-hmm.
in dealing with trauma. I think you have to be prepared, um, for always kind of prepared for the worst, and just embrace it and learn to, have yourself just dig into it. And that's part of your life experience. Even though it's tough, you know that you're going to get through it, you know. And sometimes you have to learn that the hard way. But, you just keep pushing on, because, listen, the odds of any one of us here on Earth being here are like millions and billions to one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we might as well make good use of the time that we're here.
Yeah, and like I said, that is very. I don't think in the world in general, the mental health struggles and what affects them can seriously the issues it can cause. Because I know, like talking and reviewing some artists, the thing was a lot of people get in their mind, okay, this piece did good. How am I ever going to recreate that? Or if they can't recreate that, it
Right.
really eats them alive. I did not realize that affected some artists so profoundly when they had a good song or one that liked people liked, and it actually, yeah, it sunk their career because they couldn't get past that. Everything's got to be like that. Which,
Something I would recommend. There's on Disney Plus, they have Let It Be, the thing about the Beatles. It's a
mm-hmm,
really good lesson in seeing a bunch of creative people, work on something and deal with differences, and constructively argue with each other. I mean, it's amazing how the Beatles were. First of all, they're so talented,
mm-hmm,
and they're very good at like, kind of like knowing how to communicate with each other, even though things were kind of hard. Um, and I think that's what made them so special and brilliant. And I got halfway through it. I have to see the rest of it.
Yeah, I have to. My wife doesn't like the Beatles, so I got to watch it solo. So,
Well,
so
it's interesting. My wife's the same thing. She goes, I never grew up listening to the Beatles, so she's kind of rediscovering them
yeah,
with.
and it's. I mean, that is. If you look at the Beatles, actually, and you look at, they had a good career working together compared to, say, Guns N' Roses and Van
Right.
Halen and stuff, where it was World War III on stage. So.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that they had all those um battles?
Hmm. Now, I did want to ask, when you're working with the musician, you bring them in. You want them to work on a piece with you.
Hmm.
What are some of the key things that person can do to blow it right off the bat?
Well,
You,
there's a million things someone can do to blow it right off the bat, but the first thing is like I want someone's going to work on something with me. I'll give them like parameters,
hmm
and then I want them to be innovative.
hmm
Do something that's really great. And if there's like out of 1 minute, if there's 12 seconds, that's really great. That to me is a big win. You know what I'm saying? I can work with that.
hmm
uh, because if I'm going to ask someone to work with me, I want to make sure they're, like I said before, they're bringing something to the table.
hmm
But just like anything else, it's like you don't, if you say, I listen, I need this in 2 weeks, and then in 2 weeks they forgot about it, completely,
hmm
um, or the last minute they said, I just, this is way above my head, I can't do it. So, but see, I don't know people like that.
hmm
And if I haven't worked with someone, unless they have like, there are people that have awesome reputations, I don't have to tell them anything.
Yeah.
Say, they're gonna know better than I will. There's some drummers that play for me that I just said, listen, I just need you to be busy and aggressive here, and really sparse and vicious here.
hmm
This spot, and I'm not going to tell them what beats to play.
Yeah.
You know?
So I didn't know if it was like coming in like the huge chip on the shoulder or anything like
Uh,
that. If that right off the bat, I was like, okay, this isn't. You're not gonna
well,
go well here.
if someone's got a chip on the shoulder, they got to like not bring that up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And,
So
and like I said, I enjoy talking with you. This is always so great. Now, you have an extensive music education, which
I'm
uh,
still learning every day.
yeah. I know, but you know what? I like looking at your music education. It's like, that would be nice. I wish I could have got that. Cause
But you have to understand that's like the start. That's like the launch pad.
yeah, oh
uh,
yeah,
you don't get like you don't go to 4 years or 8 years of college and you say, okay, I know everything there's to know. Well, you may know everything there's to know of what you learned in school, but
hmm
then you have to apply that, and that's where the big challenge is. I mean, any surgeon that
hmm
they learn a certain amount when they were in medical school,
hmm
and that the volumes of stuff being an assistant, assisting other surgeons, doing residencies, and then their own practice. And still each day there's something new to learn, you
yeah.
know.
And I just think it's interesting because to have, there's so much more than you pick up in books. Like I taught myself composition, like I discussed with you, but to actually have someone, the little details of why and how and what's the reasoning that you can never
Right.
find, that would define. I like that stuff. I like the nerd mode. Well, why does this have to be like this? Not just, oh, it sounds good and it's the theory. What
Well, it has to be
is
that way for that particular music in that particular era, you
yeah,
know.
it
And there were people that, they blazed a different trail from that era, like I know you're doing the Nutcracker. So that's like the late 1800s going into the very early 1900s.
mm-hmm,
And then you had other that's Tchaikovsky,
mm-hmm,
right?
yep,
And then you had other Russian composers that were starting to come out in the late 20s, early 1930s that were completely, you could tell that they were influenced by Tchaikovsky, but they kind of blazed a new trail, you know. And then there's around that time there's the Impressionist movement,
mm-hmm,
where um it's kind of mirrored in paintings, whereas like the paintings had this lush hue of colors that and so composers figured out how to express themselves in that fashion, and they made new rules. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I hope that like is a satisfying
well,
response.
I like you have such a wealth of knowledge. One, you'll be exciting to hear. It's coming out later this year. I'm actually finishing up Fuge. So,
Okay.
so my wife's like, you know what? You need to do a Halloween song here. Do that. Do that. I was like, Fuge. All right, I'm on it. So that's actually something I'm
I'd
working
love to hear that.
on.
You mean like
It's
do the Halloween theme and
yes,
do some take
yes.
on that? Yeah, that'd
I've
be
got
cool.
so much set
Hey,
up.
listen, if you want to do the Killer Clown March, you're welcome to.
If I'm sorry,
You could, if you want to do the Killer Clowns from Outer Space March, I'm thrilled.
I would
I'd be
be.
honored.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd
Yeah,
love to. I
just do
honestly.
it. Just do it whenever you want to, and if it's as long as it inspires you,
Uh,
I would be honored. But I'm not telling you that you have to. And,
well, you know what? Actually, that's actually I got goosebumps thinking about that. That's exciting for me. So, I mean, so what are your plans for this year? I know you can't discuss the game.
uh-huh.
You can't discuss the movie. Do you have any other big plans? I know you're working at the with the cosplay rave.
Hmm.
And do you have any that most people might not expect? Later this year.
Later this year, let me see. Well, like in July, there's we're doing an event at a big convention in Long Beach called Midsummer Scream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm uh, probably by the end of the year sometime the video game will be announced or released or both,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to do some traveling with my family.
Oh, that's that right there. You need the break.
Yeah.
This is if you don't work in the music field or just getting in, you would not believe how needed the breaks are and why people who do this for
Right,
a living take vacations and travel for weeks and months because
right.
sitting in a soundproof box around a bunch of instruments seems like fun, but after
You
a
need to
while,
get out. Yeah,
your brain's like, I'm
yeah.
good.
I have cousins that have kids now that are like 10 years old that I haven't seen.
Oh yeah, you
You
said
know, stuff like that. And
yeah.
I have family that hasn't seen me in a long time, so I gotta get out to see them.
Hey, I'm surprised you don't get flooded with the nice weather there. I will say.
Well, today it was like it was. I was so upset. It was I would like to have a cold season. It got up to 88 degrees and dry today.
Oh,
Ah,
let's see. It hit 75 today, but last Wednesday and Thursday we had several inches of snow and ice.
yeah.
Hit almost 70. Then last Wednesday and Thursday before that we got 2 inches of ice, and then the week before that we got 8 inches of snow and ice.
Oh
So
my gosh.
we've gotten from -4 to 62 days later for the past
I
3
just,
weeks.
and it's like when it gets hot, it's like I almost like blame my wife. I go, do you realize it's 87 degrees? Like it's her fault.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be next week. It's supposed to be below 60, which is
That's a cold front out there in Cali. Correct me if I'm wrong. If it's getting
yeah,
below
it is.
60.
It doesn't get we don't get much cold weather.
And that's shocking with the mountains there. I was actually shocked talking to some people. We just raffled off a bunch of gear, and we're like, "Sorry, internet. Our internet lines were froze for almost 2 weeks. We
Right.
couldn't do crap."
Oh my
A-
gosh.
And we're like, and it wasn't even here. It was all throughout the city. The ground got so cold it froze,
Hmm.
so you could downstream, but you couldn't upstream.
Oh wow.
But I had a guy. He's in the south, and he goes, "You guys had snow?" He goes, "I'm not sure what that is. We've never really heard of it down here." I was like, "Oh gosh." He lives like down on the right on the tip of Florida. So
Oh, you mean like where the Florida Keys are?
yeah. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys got snow." It's like, "Yeah, we get it here." So now I find that amusing. Are you planning on going to real Ontario for any conventions? Not, and
Oh
I
man,
say real Ontario, I mean Canada, not
they
California.
invite me, I would love to go.
I mean,
They invite me.
there is so much out there conventions.
Right.
that for these horror movies. And honest to goodness, whenever you book them
Hmm.
and you get one scheduled, let me know so I can put it up for our viewers and our followers because, like my tattooist at over at Permanent Vacation, Travis, he always follows. I mean, he's got special order vinyls on order of the Killer Clown soundtrack. He's still waiting on. So
Oh, that's another thing I haven't heard about when exactly that's coming out either.
yeah, and oh, he's had it for like on order 2 years. I think.
Well, just follow me on Instagram,
Yeah.
especially on Instagram, because that's where I make my first announcements. And obviously, on Twitter and Facebook,
Mhm.
and I'm not on Twitch, and I'm not on. Oh my gosh, I forgot the other one. I'm only on three,
Yeah.
so far.
Well, I'm not like studio and music's on Facebook. I'm personally not on any social media unless it's work. I'm just one of those people
Right,
who,
right.
yeah, it's drama and politics. You know how it goes. All right,
But
so
I would love to come out. There's some things going on in Texas. There's in the Midwest. Horror Hound is in a few weeks, but I can't go there. I'm too swamped.
where's that one at? I haven't heard of that
Horror
one.
Hound. I want to say it's in Indiana. Maybe I'm wrong, but they have it in a few different places at
Hmm.
different times of the year. It's like the big one. It's in Florida. Um, oh my goodness, there's a big convention in Florida that they have twice a year. One time it'll be in Miami at one part of the year, and the other part of the year it'll be in Orlando.
Oh wow.
Next, especially when there's Halloween horror nights.
Mm. Now, I do have a question. Does your phone get blown up around October? I mean, do people?
Here's the times that it gets blown up, and I kind of like if I see a number I don't know who it is, I just don't go for it. It's around October,
Mhm.
and it's around New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, I could see for all the big cosplay and everything
Yeah,
else in the party.
right.
Yeah, I didn't. I would not have guessed someone. I can see it, but I wondered how much your phone was just
Yeah.
going off
And
around October.
sometimes there's kids that will just like FaceTime me, and I'm
Mhm.
going, and I don't accept it, because I don't know what's going on. But there was one kid, he called from Vietnam, and he was singing the Dickies Killer Clowns song to the music track in Vietnamese,
Really?
in his language. And so I just sat there and listened to him, and he plotted the whole time. And he started talking to me, and I go, "I'm sorry, I don't understand you."
That would be. I'm sorry. As a musician, that would be an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
To have someone doing that. Just as a that would be an awesome, like heartwarming feeling if someone did that to me. I know.
Yeah, it is really cool. It is
So
really cool.
I mean that is awesome because you have a very loyal fan base. I mean they do really respect your art and craft. It's not just hey we like his music. It's like no he really puts into this, and that's what I find. You don't have just fans who like your stuff. You have a true dedicated following who is into your art, which is not easy to come by in today's world, especially with attention spans about half a
Yeah,
second.
and it's great to meet people at the various appearances, because I finally get to meet them, and they
Mhm.
get to meet me, and I get to learn something about them. And it's incredible, of all the fascinating people that are into the horror genre, and all the some people, everything from someone that just flips burgers to someone who's a senior detective in the sheriff's department,
Yeah, and see
and they're dressed like Michael Myers.
yeah, and that's the crazy thing. A lot of people think it is not just young people at these horror conventions. Like I said, I personally know Dingus the clown who does weddings. That
Uh-huh,
person is older than me.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean he's But you would never guess it. I mean, there are people when I've worked at haunts. There's people in their 70s still rocking it out at these
A lot of
things,
fun. It's a
and
lot of
you would
fun.
never guess it. You would. I mean, there was one armed guy who used to bring a donkey to one of the haunts I worked at, and you thought he had full makeup on.
Wait
Dude
a minute,
was
that's a
just.
great name for a punk band.
Uh,
The one-armed guy with a donkey.
well, it's funny. People walk off and they go to pet the donkey and you yell, "Leave my ass alone!" So he'd walk
That's
past.
another good name for a punk band. Leave my ass alone.
Oh wow! Again, thank you for so much for sitting down, taking the time, especially
Thank you. It's,
after last
a,
time we had technical errors somewhere.
it's a blast
So,
to hang out with you. And I dig your setup. I'm loving your keyboards and you got everything out there.
oh
And
yeah, you can't even see over here. I got a whole rack unit with synths and more keyboards and
that's awesome,
everything
man.
else. It's
You got to make a video where you do a virtual tour, unless you've already done
yeah.
it.
I've got it set up with my back and everything. I just spin in a circle like
That's
this, and I
right.
got monitors all around.
Well, listen, it's been a thrill. Thank you for having me. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
I really appreciate, especially you've let me pick your brain and you've given some people insight on the music industry. And
And I'm
again, I
looking
got to
forward
pick
to
your brain.
hearing your Tchaikovsky
Oh,
piece.
thank you, thank you. I'll send you some sample when it gets in work. Everybody, this is the amazing John Massari. If just search his name. If you do not know his name or any of the movies we discussed, just Google search, and you'll just sit there and be like, "Oh my God, why didn't I know this? I should have." I mean,
Thank you very
seriously,
much.
when I started looking at your catalog, I was like, I know that one, that one, that one. I watched those. I've seen those. I've seen that movie 8 times. It's just so. Again, thank you for your time, everybody. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, we stream the interviews live, twitch.tv/Junkie Bass. If you're watching this right now on Twitch, in about 36 hours, it'll be up on YouTube, and we'll have all the links for all the stuff you guys check out. Again, thank you for tuning in, guys. You have a great evening. Peace.